Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Kinlock,
I guess are we working? No, you working?
I think you have to go.
Oh, yeah, I keep breaking this different.
Commissioner Garza, Commissioner Clementi,
Here.
Commissioner Dobb,
Here.
Chair Clark Coleman.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
Okay. I guess we're not working here. Oh, okay. All right, it's just a delay in it, huh? Okay. Next item.
B, Chairwoman's remarks.
I have none.
C, approval of the January 10th, 2024 meeting minutes.
It's been properly moved by Commissioner Garza and second by Commissioner Dobb. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carried.
Next item.
D, unfinished business. There is none listed.
Okay.
Item 1, under new business, forwarding report on prosecutor's office take-home vehicles, the reasons why they're being taken home, and the municipalities to which they're taken.
Tony, you're up.
I don't have the magic touch today. Through the chair, Tony Guerrero, Chief of Legislation, Grants and Community Relations for the Prosecutor's Office. I believe that the report itself is pretty much self-explanatory. It's 12 vehicles for our criminal investigation division. And the reasons that they are taken home is because they may, similar to other law enforcement, they may be called out in the middle of the night or required to get to a crime scene quickly. I don't think that there's any indication that these vehicles are being abused or used personally. They're strictly used for county business. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on this item?
By the way, most of the time, pardon me, Madam Chairman, most of the time we're buying used vehicles.
Oh,
So we're again, prosecutors always trying to be frugal and not put too much of a dent in the general fund. I should have mentioned that earlier.
okay. All right, so this is the receive and file. Kind of a motion to receive and file this. Okay, it's been properly moved by Commissioner Dobb, supported by Commissioner Clemente. Hearing no questions or concerns, please vote.
Motion carried.
Next item.
Item 2, forwarding the December 2023 report on Sheriff's Office overtime costs.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Benita Terry, Director of Administration with Sheriff's Office. So I'm here today to present the December 20th overtime report. So as you noticed, throughout the month of November 2023, we've reported that we are $5,316,198 under the budget that we're budgeted for overtime. We do have 1,070 positions that are budget for this fiscal year. We have 383 vacant police positions, and that is again as of November 30th, and 36 civilian. To date, at that time, we had 187 FMLAs. We've had, for this fiscal year, 19 reported COVID cases, a total of 714 since the pandemic has started. And then, as I've noted here, that our recruiting department is actively recruiting, attending job fairs, going to churches, visiting schools, community events. By any means necessary, we are out there actively recruiting to fill these vacant police officer positions.
So how effective have you been?
I don't have the numbers actually in front of me, but I will have them for the next meeting. But there has been an uptick right now in our recruiting, and I could get those numbers for you.
So do you attribute that to the increase in pay and benefits and things?
Yes. The new PAM contract has made a significant change in our recruiting efforts right now.
Okay, any questions from members? Hearing none. Oh, Commissioner Garza.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to just talk a little bit about the overtime cost. I know there was two reports. I'm not sure if one was a duplicate or not, but it said that the actual overtime cost was just over $4 million. And just going by that, what is your average monthly overtime expenditure for the department as a whole?
Well, so that one that I just reported on was in November when I said 5 million.
Right.
So that's like basically only 2 months into the fiscal year. So wait a minute.
Okay.
Actually, that was 3 million. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So yeah, like 1 million probably.
$1 million a month.
$1 million a month.
Okay.
1.5 somewhere. It fluctuates.
And then second, Madam Chair, just had a question about the FMLA. Knowing the report, it said over 30% of the sheriff's active employees are FMLA. Just wanted to see what the reasoning around that. Is that high compared to previous years in the department, or how does that compare to previous years?
From what I have seen just being with the sheriff's office for this year and reporting with this overtime report, our FMLA has been high due to, I'm going to assume, a lot of the mandatory overtime and our staff shortages.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Kenlock, supported by Commissioner Garza. And if there are no questions on the motion, please vote.
Motion carried.
Next item.
Item 3, forwarding the January 2024 report on Sheriff's Office overtime costs.
So this report goes through the month of December as far as the financials. And at that time, we had an actual cost of 4.1 million. We had, at that time, 390 vacant police positions, 37 civilian. And then we hired 22 officers. However, we lost, we had not hired, because our class hasn't finished at that time that report was done, but we do have a class that graduated. But we lost 22 officers to retirement and resignation.
So you gained?
We gain, we lose, kind of net
You gained
zero.
how many?
I don't, we had gained actually 19 that graduated from our class. It's not in this report because they hadn't graduated at the time.
Okay.
But we had lost 22 officers to retirement or resignation. So we're gonna stay positive. These numbers they're trending,
I'm gonna say
hopefully.
positive, but it's been looking like this for a long time.
So this is early into the fiscal year, this report here.
Okay, Commissioner Garza.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, since we're talking about recruitment, you said you had 19, but then lost 22. So basically losing a net of 3.
Mhm.
How does that look? If you don't mind, just kind of briefly, the Reader's Digest version of this, how often do you graduate classes in the sheriff's department?
It depends. We had a class that graduated just recently. We have a new class that's coming up that is soon, it says will graduate in June. So we're basically doing maybe 3 classes. It depends on how many recruits we have at the time. So we're looking at, try to pull the numbers up to have at least 30 in a class.
Okay, got it.
So
30
30
times a year? Is that
At
what
least.
you're- At least, okay. Yeah, thank
at
you.
least.
Wait. Let me make sure I understand. You said 30,
That's what we're trending to, because our classes have been less. We brought in like 19 the last time, so we're hoping to have at least 30 this
okay, so
class go round.
you're saying that 30 people,
30 people.
but not 30 times a year.
No, we're not that
I
good.
think that's what you said.
Madam,
No,
I
30
think she said 30 people 3 times per year.
Oh,
That's
is
what
that
they're
what you
hoping.
said? Oh, okay, all right. I was gonna say, you guys ain't turning them out.
No, we're not.
So you have, how many classes? I mean, how long? That's it. How long?
Classes are 6 to 8 weeks,
Is that what it is?
6 weeks, I believe, yes. And for our next time we meet in 2 weeks, I can give you a better report that shows a little bit more of a trend of statistics and numbers
Okay.
on the
Alright,
recruiting.
okay. Are there any other questions on this report? So this is the receiving file, motion by Commissioner Garza and supported by Commissioner Dobb. If there are no other comments on it, please vote.
Motion carried.
Okay. Next item.
Item 4, requesting commission approval of a 1-year grant agreement with the Michigan Department of State Police, Office of Highway Safety Planning for the fiscal year 2024 Wayne County Overtime Distracted Driving, Impaired Seatbelt Speed and Special Enforcement Grant.
So we come before you today asking for your approval to accept this grant without a county match. Grant amount is of $51,753,000 and for a term through September 30th, 2024. And if you have additional questions, I have my grants director on the line and she can answer any additional questions you might have.
Is this one that we normally have?
Yes,
We've had this before, right?
yes.
This one runs. Yeah. 24 fiscal year.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Any questions on this item? On this grant? We don't turn down any free money.
Not at all.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Have the communities been notified that they will be receiving these funds?
I'm gonna ask my grants director to speak on that for me because she handles all the
I-
grants and works with the communities.
Yeah, and since it's retroactive, since the program has already started, have they received their funds yet? Or how?
No,
Okay,
no, they have not received any funds.
all right. Yeah, and I guess, have they been notified?
Okay. Director Regina Banks Hall.
Can she get in?
Okay.
That's okay. I can contact
I
my,
can email you with that
Okay.
information and let you know.
yeah, all right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right, this is. Yeah, this is a motion. Okay, we do have motion by Commissioner Dobb, supported by Commissioner Garza. This is an action item. Are there any other questions or concerns on this item? If not, please vote.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 5, an ordinance to amend Chapter 207 of the Wayne County Code of Ordinances, the Public Nuisance Ordinance, to clarify and further define public nuisances involving racing on public streets and the available enforcement, abatement, and sanctions.
Okay, we have someone here to speak on this, Tony. Tony and was Charles Davis? Well, on this one here, I guess it serves its purpose, because if they come racing through the neighborhoods, they need to have those cars confiscated.
Through the chair, Tony Guerrero here as Chief of Legislation, Grants and Community Relations. It's not on? Oh, well,
Maybe you need to pull it closer to you.
I will. We would defer to Commission Council. We're very happy with the ordinance, but there are apparently some modifications that may need to be made.
Okay. And they are in red. Does everyone have a copy of this proposed ordinance? And the changes are the ones that's in red?
Yes.
Okay, you want to speak on this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and members of the committee. First of all, I'd like to thank the Commission Counsel, Felicia Johnson, for her assistance in drafting the proposed amendments. But through the last several years in prosecuting drag racing for our office, we felt that there were some more changes that needed to be done to the statute to better allow us to prosecute, give some guidance to law enforcement that is very necessary, as well as provide those who are caught up in the process and get involved with their vehicles being seized, allow them a strict process that they know they can follow to protect their rights. Currently, there is no process set forth in the statute once a vehicle is seized, other than us filing a lawsuit down the road. So there's a rather hefty section of this that's in red, which is the notice of seizure provisions that we have suggested be adopted into the statute. And but I'm going to go through them quickly for the members, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Beginning, the first thing you'll notice is a new definition for assisting drag racing. Currently, the law really only expressly allows for the seizure of vehicles that are actually in the act of drag racing. But as I'm sure you're all aware, these events are not just one or two individuals in their cars. Sometimes they are upwards of hundreds of people and vehicles in one location. Not all of those people would have their vehicles seized, but there are individuals there that are actively participating in assisting the drag racing, blockading traffic, that kind of thing. There are individuals who are providing finance to get the vehicles there. And those individuals are actively participating in ensuring that these events occur. And so that's what this provision is designed to do, is allow law enforcement to continue to seize those vehicles, but providing guidance to the law enforcement as to exactly when and what kind of vehicle to seize, as well as provide the individuals who have their vehicles seized with an understanding of why their vehicles are being seized. Currently, they were being seized under a kind of more amorphous aiding and abetting or assisting type argument that we would have to make in court. But these provisions would make that more express in the ordinance so that the law enforcement certainly knows what they need to do. I would note there are.
Could you point out which the section?
Yes, I'm sorry. This is section 207-3 definitions, Division A, I believe, subdivision, I believe, A, assisting racing. So there are cases that we have to end up rejecting because law enforcement mistakenly, under the belief that they could, seized a vehicle, believing that it was helping and assisting the drag racing, or maybe it was just there spectating, and we had to tell them, no, you can't do that. There has to be more involvement in the drag racing activity. So that's what this provision is to give real guidance to law enforcement and some express language that we can point to.
So this is a definition.
This is a definitional.
Section 207-3. These are all definitions
Yes.
to clarify.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kinlock.
Mhm.
I have a question and just trying to understand providing financial assistance. How would that be observed? How would that be verified? Who would be that describe an instance of a person providing financial assistance where the officer will openly and readily be able to identify that person?
I can provide you a couple instances. Early on in the drag racing season, if you will, they prefer warmer, drier weather. We had several cars that were hired from Lansing to come to Detroit with a express purpose. And this was all seen over the internet through exchanges on websites and text messages and things like that we were able to obtain in prosecuting this case. That they were hiring these high-end racing vehicles to come down to the streets of Detroit and race in the streets.
So this is a tool that would be utilized during your investigative portion. So, if you identify through your investigation that someone financially assisted with a specific drag racing event, then it's not a situation where the police officer maybe on site would recognize the person financially participated in it. This is something that you would be able to identify from your investigation into an event.
Yes and no. And I don't mean to obfuscate, but our office doesn't genuinely investigate crime. The police officers do, and they present the case to us.
Right, I'm saying from their investigation.
Yes.
What I'm trying to make sure is that there's no ambiguity, because one thing that I get a lot of calls in Pingree Park, because that community, they have a lot of drag racing. And then also you get calls from folks saying they seized my car, I don't know how to get it back, and this, that, and the other, and this, and I've called Tony a few times. But so I'm saying this is absolutely a good provision to put in, but I just want to make sure that financial assistance piece is clear on where and how it's utilized.
Yes. We would have to be able to prove in court that they intended to provide financial monies to support the actual drag racing activity going on.
Okay, thank you.
We actually had individuals, and this is another reason this provision is very valuable for the financial support aspect. The drag racing has progressed just like a lot of online activity has in the modern era, where they are trying to monetize these events beyond just the actual gambling or whatever might be going on at the activity. The way they are often now doing these events is you have to contact individuals online. They will then sell you like a ticket that they will then, once you buy that ticket, they will tell you where and when the event is.
Oh.
So these are promoters, right?
These are promoters,
These are
yes,
promoters. So they're promoting the event.
correct.
So
That's a great example.
Yeah. So how then does, how can you, well, you can't confiscate their cars, or can?
Well, that was part of the problem, is they may have had a car there, but it may not have been immediately involved in the drag racing. But when the police started investigating the individual, they found on the internet this activity going on, and this would allow them to go after that money.
So you can, the money or the cars?
Both. The money of the individual that is
They
raising
can
the
be
money.
fined. in other words?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. My computer just went off. I think you did something over here.
No, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Garza.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a question in regards to the section 207-3 definition. So I, first of all, I just want to thank everyone involved in this. I think this is great, moving forward. However, I did have a concern about the filming or live streaming a racing event to promote or encourage the racing activity. It seems a little bit ambiguous when you look at that language and the context of including that in seizure, and how do you define that? And if we can give an example of that, because I, definitely just want to make sure that it's not too broad in that form, and kind of what is the intent with that language.
So where are you looking? Which one?
Under section 2073, the definition of assisting racing,
Assisting.
one
Okay.
of this,
Line 12.
yes, and
Okay.
it says filming
That
or
one.
live streaming a racing event
Oh, okay. I
to
see.
promote or encourage the racing activity. It just seems a bit
Okay.
ambiguous in that line.
I think it's intent driven. The language is intent. You have to have the intent to actually be participating there and promoting that activity. It can't just be drag racing in general. That would be constitutionally invalid. That's free speech. You have to be actually supporting illegal drag racing that's going on at the moment. And there are a number of examples I could provide where individuals were there at the race with their cell phones out, promoting it,
Mhm.
live streaming it on the internet. And that's how these activities grow in size, and they become well known in the community, a drag racing community across the nation. And they bring in people across state borders. We had several individuals coming across state borders to participate in drag racing here. And in fact, we had an individual who went south to when the season turned bad here to drag race in that state. And live streaming these events is a way that they promote and get these events to become even bigger and more of a moneymaker for them. So the limit there is that their intent, we have to prove in court. So it's not just anybody with a video.
So thank you. And Madam Chair, just one more follow-up on that. So, John Doe driving down the street sees drag racing happening on 4th Street, for instance. They take out their cell phone and they're filming that and they're driving by. Would they be under this definition?
No, because they did not have the intent to do it to promote or participate in the activity. If anything, they were there, they were doing that to aid perhaps the community in
Sure.
going after that activity.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Obviously, that's going to be an issue of fact. If the individual's in the middle of the activity, they're out there cheering everybody on and filming, and then they come to us later and say, "Oh, I was just there filming because I wanted to show it to the police." Yeah, that's an issue of fact, and that's why we settle cases, and we settle them for a lot less money than we would normally, because sometimes the facts are not there for us to prove, but we have those questions, those issues still there. Other times we reject the cases outright because the individual can come to us later and prove that they weren't there to participate in the activity.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Dow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to check with Commission Counsel that she agrees that the language in here supports that we differentiate between just a bystander who films it and he just puts it on Facebook as like, look what I saw on my street, versus someone who's promoting it for money or to spread the event for more people to come.
Through the chair to this honorable body, so this proposed amendments to this ordinance were requested by the prosecutor's office, and they provided the initial draft language, which we did tweak, and we have worked with them With regards to your question, I do believe that intent would be important. I will do, a little more due diligence between now and full board and have a discussion with Mr. Davis if we think clarification is necessary. That will, we can do that prior to full board and it'll just be as amended at full board. At this time, I think I agree with him and I don't know that anything is necessary, but if you allow us the opportunity to just have another discussion, we can, wade through that and determine if anything else is necessary.
Okay, great. Because I know a lot of people, everyone films everything on their phones and
Right,
puts
they
it
do.
on social media. And I just want to make sure that we're protecting people who aren't actively involved in organizing these things from getting in trouble. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Just through, and maybe Mr. Davis, you can answer this. If this came to your attention that it turned out to be a bystander, would your office even pursue it?
No.
Okay. Because sometimes
And-
it's always prosecutorial discretion, so we need to know the position of the prosecutor's office.
And through the chair, and the final safeguard is always, we must prove beyond a reasonable doubt
Right.
the intent.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I would, Madam Chairwoman, through you, to the other honorable member, the exact language on line 13, the filming or live streaming has to be to promote or encourage.
Hmm.
Okay, and that's an intent element there.
Okay.
But we'd be happy to work with, the committee on any, changes that you feel necessary to effectuate that.
Okay.
So that's one set of changes. The other set is basically begins on page section 207-7, it's page 6 of the draft. It's titled Notice of Seizure, Order of Impoundment, Notice of Claim, Objection, and Administrative Forfeiture. And this is it seems rather lengthy, but that's only because it's dealing with very specific process-oriented things. And this is a process that law enforcement will be extremely familiar with because it's basically borrowed from other forfeiture statutes already in existence, already with a track record of use. And it's essentially the same or very similar process to what we used for drag racing. Our office required when police were trying to enforce the ordinance in Wayne County with our office. But it basically makes it express language in the statute. So there's no question as to what the police need to do or what a claimant needs to do. And it has both, it both supports law enforcement, but also it supports the individuals in their ability to defend their rights to their property and know what they need to do that. So that's why I think it's important to have that in an ordinance. It requires that anytime property is seized, a notice be served on that claimant, which will explain to them what their rights are and their ability to claim and object to that forfeiture.
And the time period in which they have to act.
Correct. Yeah, the time period and what they need to do that.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Kinlock.
I went to that section and was going through it, and it responds to a lot of issues that I've had from individuals who had questions about their cars being. So it addresses, and like you said, the notice as well as the time frame. So it's very well thought out. Like you said, I guess you used it from other. And yeah,
I won't claim
you're right.
it as my own. I just borrowed it and tried to fit it into this ordinance.
Primary idea is also to provide guidance so that we don't have lawsuits against the county over these seizures.
Sure, makes sense. Any other? Yes, ma'am. General Counsel.
My final two comments, this just provides, again, more structure and clarity to individuals and the police officers, and it is based on statutory schemes that are already in the law. So we just added them to this ordinance. I'd also like to thank Mary P. from my office for actually putting the draft together. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yes, and I forgot to mention Mary too. Thank you. Part of this then flows into the lawsuit and judicial process involved. And what I'm very happy to put in here is an improved process for an expedited judicial process
Now, what number is
time
that?
period.
Where's that?
So that would be in let's see, beginning page 8 and then the top of page 9. New subsection G and I.
Okay.
So essentially, if all parties to a lawsuit, if we were to forced to go that far into filing a lawsuit, would be able to expedite the process through the court system instead of having to wait for the normal time periods and such. A lot of these cases may not require the same amount of discovery that a full-blown civil lawsuit or business lawsuit might require in the courts. And so this provision in particular would allow for us to kind of get around that into getting a quick trial and quick decision in the case so that, as we all know, the vehicles won't be sitting there for a very long period of time.
Okay, anything else?
And that's it, Your Honor. Thank you. I appreciate the committee's consideration of this.
Mhm. So are there any comments or questions on this item? This is because goes before full board next week? Okay, so we will be taking action to approve the amendments, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and if there are no other questions or comments, I have a motion by Commissioner Clemente and a second by Commissioner Garza. And if there are no other questions, please vote.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next item,
F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
and thank you for coming in, sir.
Thank you very much.
I have not been informed of any.
G, public comments.
Okay, if there's anyone on Zoom, on the phones, or in the audience here, this is your time to speak up. Anybody on Zoom who would like to make a comment this time, please speak. Zoom, telephones, or in the audience, please raise your hand or please speak. The lines have been muted, unmuted. This is the last call for public comments. Thank you. Public comment is over. Commissioner Kenlock.
Adjournment.
Okay. This meeting is adjourned. Now, on our computers, on my computer anyhow, I'm very distracted because I'm looking at Alex Garza and I'm seeing Ray Basham's picture.